Good afternoon. Welcome to Tan Van Cooking. Today, I would like to share with you my recipe of Vietnamese spring roll. The ingredients are in the description box below the video. You can change the ingredient by using the pork loin, chicken or turkey meat only. You can change to jicama, bean sprout instead of water chestnut. The possibility is endless. Today, I would like to show you how I make Vietnamese spring rolls. This is the brand that I use for the dried mushroom. There are different sizes in the bag. For my recipe, I just use the big size. I soak the mushroom in a deep container of the lukewarm water at 88 degrees for 1 hour. And as you can see, it expands from this size to this size. So I go in there and I rub it to make sure it's all clean. This is the hard cord that I need to cut it out because it's very hard to eat. Then I dry them completely. So I go from one area to the other area, turn it around to make sure I spread it out, because the idea for this recipe is every ingredient need to be dry. Then I roll it so I can cut it easily. And then I turn it around so I can have a little pieces for the filling. This is the brand that I use for the bean thread. It comes in bundles. For my recipe, I only use half of the bundle. Then in cold water, I soak it for 10 minutes. Then I drain it for another 10 minutes. Then I spread it out and dry them. Move them around. Turn it over, spread them. Then I gather them to a very small bundle and cut it about 1 inch long. This piece of pork chop is about 1 inch thick and 7 ounces. After I wash it in cold water, I will dry it all the sizes. You can also use pork loin. Now I'm gonna trim the fat off all around. But if you like some fat in there, you can leave it in there. I'm gonna cut them to little pieces, just a little sample for you to see. Turn it over. I spread the pork out so I can sprinkle a little bit of salt, a little bit sugar, and black pepper over. At this point, you can use the food processor or chop it by hand. Fold it over and chop again. This is the final stage of the pork. So you can see there's still a little piece of meat there. So there are some is fine, but some is coarse. If you use the food processor, make sure you pulse off and on so the final stage of the pork chop would be coarsely like this. I am using 7 shrimps. They are in a 13 count per pound. After the shrimp is shelled and deveined, I need to dry them completely, one by one, all different sizes. Go right in where in the middle and keep turning and moving so each of the shrimp will be completely dry. This is the size of the pieces that I'm gonna cut. When it is the thick part, I just turn it to half and then I cut it. Depend on the size of the scallion. For this medium size, I only need 2, but I would like to show you how you wash them. First of all, you just run the cold water. If you see any extra leaf, just rub it off. Go down. Any yellow leaf, take it off. But the most important thing is just run the water through all the leaf. Go pull the leaf off a little bit. Pull the leaf because sometimes the dirt stay in there. So we want to get rid of it. Then I cut the root off and cut the end. Any part that is wilted or yellow, you cut it off. Then I'm gonna cut where that leaf is and go in there and dry every part of it. You can see the leaf, I rub it and dry. Because if everything is dry, all the ingredient is dry, then we will have a very crispy spring roll. Then I'm gonna cut them not too finely, as you can see. If you like the recipe to have less scallion, then just use 1 scallion. And it's about 1/4 of a cup of scallion. You can use yellow onion or red onion. I just happen to have some red onion in my refrigerator. As you can see, this is the size, not too fine, and I need 1/4 of a cup of that. This is the green cabbage, and I only need 1/2 cup. This size of cabbage is a little tiny bit bigger than the onion. I need about 1/4 of a cup of the carrot. After it is washed and dry completely, it's thin but not too thin. I have about 1/4 of a cup of carrot here, and just like all the other ingredients, scallion, onion or cabbage, I put it on the paper towel again, and then just make sure I dry them. This is the can of water chestnut that is available in my local grocery store, but you can use any brand you like. I need about 1/4 of a cup, so I'm just cut them. And this we just go coarsely, not too big and not too small. This would give a little crunchy in our filling. It has no salt, just in water, but it's healthy, nutritious, and fun, crunchy. There's a lot of water in the water chestnut, so I'm gonna dry them very well to make sure. That's why I dry them after I cut, because in between and around it's very wet. And finally, a big clove of garlic. If you like less, you can use a smaller, or more, you can use 2 big cloves. This is the part that I like to take it out because it's too hard to eat. And then I pound. Take the skin out. Cut them to little pieces, so it's easy to pound, or continue just pounding them so it's easy to chop. Bring them all together and just chop finely. Now we are ready to mix them all together. And this is the mushroom, the bean thread, the pork, the shrimp, scallion, onion, cabbage, carrot, and water chestnut. I'm going to mix all the vegetables together first. Very gently. Mix them well together. And now I'm going to mix the meat and the shrimp together. If you see any clump of meat, break them off. So they are finely mixed. Very gently, especially the pork, they are kind of getting a big chunk together. Now we're going to bring everything together. Everything is very dry, and that is the key for the spring roll. Next time you can try to have a little bit more vegetable or less vegetable if you like, but this is what I like. I like a little bit more vegetable than the meat. You can see there's a little clump of meat. Break them off. Then I spread it all out, and I put in 1/8 of a teaspoon of sauce. We want to make sure it's spread evenly. 1/4 of a teaspoon of sugar. And black pepper over. 1/4 of a teaspoon of fish sauce. Just a little bit dripping all over. And 1/4 of a teaspoon of regular soy sauce. This is a very small recipe to show you, so I only need to use half of the egg to mix in. Break it out. I only need half of the egg yolk and half of the egg white. Then I stir them up finely, and it's about 1/8 of a cup. Then I just drizzle very gently. This is to combine all the ingredients together. But we don't want it too much because it will be too wet for the spring roll. And then I gently to bring them all together again. Just bring them and separate them. So eventually they are all combined and all the spice would come together. So try to break the meat so they all would be evenly. And this is it. Then bring them all together and cover with plastic wrap in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes. Now I'm gonna spread them out along the size of this pan. It's about 1 inch thick and about 12 inches long. So I just use this spatula and just spread them evenly like this. And then I'm going to use this shovel. That's about, so I'm going to just make a cut, and cut. Another, and another. And then from this side, we can bring them a little bit straight. I would like to have about 4 divided about 1 inch. This is just to give you some idea. But you can use 2 forks or 2 spoons and just scoop it up from here. But this would give me some idea how many wrappers that I need. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is 16. This is the brand I use for the wrapper. You can find it in the freezer section of Asian grocery. I bring a cooler with ice packs to store it along with meat and shrimp to keep it cold and fresh on the way home. Important note, always keep it flat and in the refrigerator if you are going to use it the same day or next day unopened. Otherwise, store it in the freezer. Just peel very gently, one at a time. So we need 16. If the packet is not coming out of the refrigerator, you can take it out of the freezer and let it sit in the room temperature for 30 minutes before you peel. So we want to get everything ready. You can see a little bit, not right stuck on top of either, just a little bit so I know where to pick it up. To keep this wrapper from drying out, I put a 2 layer of damp paper towels, or you can use kitchen towel, but it needs to be damp, and just cover it. I'm gonna keep the remaining of the wrapper back into its package. Another layer of plastic wrap to make sure they are tight. And from here, I will roll it up and then just roll up, and then I'm gonna Scotch tape it, or just use aluminum wrapper and wrap another so they will be sealed very tight before it goes to the freezer for later use. I use my hand to make sure each portion is the right size and compact before I put them on the wrapper. I mix 1 teaspoon of all-purpose flour and 1 teaspoon of cold water. Stir it up to use it as sealer for the wrapper. In order to keep the outside of the wrapper clean from the filling, I am using the spatula and the fork so my fingers do not touch the filling. Just here is how I wrap. Just take one out and immediately cover the rest of the wrapper. I'm gonna use this spatula and try to put them together before I pick them up and put them right at the end, the pointed part of the wrapper. If it gets any vegetable coming out, bring them together inside. Bring the other side together. Then you roll it again, and this time we're going to put the flap over. So make sure everything stays closed. Then put your finger down, fold it just a little bit, everything down, and then fold it over. And now we roll. Tighter as you can, and roll it down. Pick it up, put a little bit seal at the end. Now when you put it down on the plate, make sure where the sealer is on the plate. Leave it a little room there so they don't touch together. If using the spatula and the fork is so hard for you, you can pick up the filling all by hand and just bring them together. But make sure you clean your finger on the damp paper towel on the side here before you work with the wrapper. Just remember, every time you touch the filling, you just reach over and clean your hand. So now we roll it down really tight, shape them. Then now it's put your finger down to find the filling. Fold it just a little bit on the side. Put the finger down and then fold it over. The reason I do this way because when you fry the wrapper, the spring roll, if you don't have many layers of the wrapper, it will break, the filling would break. So you don't want it. You want it, the two sides to be protected, and that's why you need to do this way. Then you're gonna roll it again. Then we'll find the filling. Turn it a little bit. Put the finger down before you fold it. Now roll tight. If you don't get the pointed in the middle, don't worry, everything is okay. So before you put it down, make sure the edge is at the bottom, and then just shape it like this. Here are 16 spring rolls from my recipe. I am going to cover with plastic wrap and put them in the refrigerator for 20 minutes. I put the rolls in the pan before adding the oil to make sure I have the right size of pan for the number of rolls. It's very important that they are not too crowded. Stir the oil and then wait until the chopsticks have bubbles. Then the oil is ready, or you have the thermometer, it shows 300 degrees. When you put the spring roll in, make sure you put the end of the roll down. The oil is cover the spring roll completely. So we just go in there and moving up and down so the spring roll won't stick down to the bottom. You can turn the heat up and down. Make sure the temperature is between 320 to 330. When it starts to brown a little bit, try to turn the roll to the other side. This is the medium heat that I keep it from the beginning, and the temperature stays at 320. And right now I turn it around and it's a lightly brown. I like it a little bit browner, but the filling inside is completely cooked. The temperature now is going up to 330, and as you can see, it's browner than before. So I'm ready to take it out. With the towel at the bottom of this bowl, I'm bringing the spring roll out to make sure all the oil would go down to the paper towel. And this is about 8 minutes of deep fried spring roll. These are the thinly sliced of cucumber without the seed in the middle, thinly sliced carrot, romaine lettuce leaf without the stem in the middle, fresh bean sprout, and fresh mint. When it is served, you can put a little bit inside of the romaine lettuce, or as much as you like. Just break it off and put the spring roll in and roll it and dip in the fish sauce. The recipe for the dipping fish sauce is in my video Tan Văn Cooking Vietnamese dipping fish sauce. While the oil is still warm, I strain it over the paper towel so the oil can be clean for next use. You can use a paper towel or cheesecloth. At the bottom of the pan, there are brown things everywhere. That's what I want to keep it from my next use. As you can see, the little brown spot in the paper towel, and over here it's a perfectly clean oil to be used next time. There's a second way to eat the Vietnamese spring roll. I started with a little pan and a little oil and cut up just one shallot and saute them to lightly brown. And then using the same oil, just a little bit, as you can see, and I just cut up just one scallion and just slowly stir it until it's tender, so it doesn't take long. This is for flavoring the vermicelli. This is the brand of the rice vermicelli that I use. There are many bundles in the package, but for my recipe I only need to use one bundle. I am going to wait for the water to come to full boil, and as you can see, the water is very full for this package. If you need to cook more bundle, then you need to get bigger size of pan, so it could have more water for more bundle. Then I put the bundle in and wait until it separates. The heat is medium to medium high. The key is to get the water boiling. Keep boiling. If there is no bubble, that means you don't have enough heat. Turn it over and move them around. As you can see, it starts to separate. Now it is completely separate. Then I will turn the heat off and put the cover on. Then I'm gonna let it sit for 10 minutes. Then open the lid and taste it. If it's not too hard for you, if it is, close the lid back and let it sit for 2 or 3 more minutes. Then pour it over the strainer and run the cold water over it to stop the cooking. And shake it to get all the water out. Then over the bowl and let them dry. You can also move them, so every half hour or 1 hour, when you have time, just move them around, open up to get the air in to dry out. After turning and spreading 3 times, and after 1 hour, it is completely dry and ready to be used. It is best served in the room temperature, but if you like it a little bit warm, you can microwave it, but very little, very low heat for 30 seconds or 1 minute. This bowl here has all the cut up vegetable in there. See, bean sprout, mint, cucumber, carrot, and romaine lettuce cut up to any size you like, a bite size or mix up. And then the vermicelli on top. You can put small, little, as you like. And now I'm gonna sprinkle them with the shallots. For flavoring, and then the scallion, sprinkle on top, and then the peanut, chopped peanuts. You can chop it finer, but I like it a little bit crunchy, so you can put as much as you like or chop them finer. And then before you serve with the spring roll, you can sprinkle the fish sauce all over it and then toss it well, and then cut up the fried spring roll on top of it. If you don't want to fry all the spring rolls at one time, you can put some in container or Ziploc bag and store them in the freezer to use later. When you are ready to fry your frozen spring rolls, take them out of the freezer and right into the oil of 320. And that's the bubble that we like. We always want bubble, because without the bubble, the oil will stay in the wrapper. Notice the deep oil. Move them around a little bit, up and down, so they don't get stuck in at the bottom of the pan. So just keep the temperature between 320 to 330. This is the medium heat. You might have to adjust the heat of the burner, turn the heat up or down. So if the boil is a little bit too small, bring the heat up. Now the temperature is about 330, and I just turned the heat up a little bit because the bubbles seem to be smaller. So now the bubble is up. This is the size of bubble that you like. You don't want it too big of the bubble, then it just burn outside and not cook inside. After the spring roll is cool just a little bit, and I'm gonna cut the spring roll. Just put it on the top, just around, because you don't want the spring roll to touch the fish sauce, because they will get soft. And then a couple more. I also have the recipe for the pineapple dipping sauce in the description box below the video. I hope you try my recipe and enjoy it.